Welcome. I hope your belief in the law of attraction is growing. And today I want to talk about how to make manifesting easy no matter what technique you decide to use or what technique comes naturally to you. So, if you're into conscious manifesting, chances are you've come across a technique that you prefer to use, your favorite technique, the one that you feel most comfortable with. So, I'm going to share with you what I have found helps no matter what technique you are using. Now, even though you don't necessarily need techniques to manifest because you are the operant power, you're the one that's in control of everything. And just being in the state, being in that feeling state of knowing that you have what you want is the key. Techniques help get you there, right? Because it can't be easy for everyone to just assume that they have what they want in the beginning, especially if you're new to this. It can be very difficult to just assume that you already have what you want or to assume that you already are what you want to be. And that's where techniques come in. So although the techniques don't matter, techniques can be helpful. They're just tools, right? They get you where you need to be mentally to make this whole thing work. And when you're using techniques, the most important thing to remember is that less is more. You want to manifest with a light touch, okay? You don't want to strong arm or brute force your technique, right? And you're trying to manifest from the most natural state. You want to sound natural to yourself when you're thinking about things. The more natural that you can make feeling the state of the wish fulfilled, the better your manifestation process is going to be for you, the less stressful it's going to be. There's like a little feeling you get. It kind of just like sets off alarm bells in your head where it's completely unbelievable versus something that you might say a different way where it's plausible in your mind. And you want to go for those things, the things that sound natural. And then after you've found things that sound natural, that make you feel good, that aren't so stressful for you to perform and to say, then you just do it with confidence and you don't stress out about whether it's working or not. So another way to look at this is if you're visualizing, you want to pick scenes that are easy to visualize, short scenes. If you're doing SATs, a state akin to sleep, right? I have found that focusing on the hearing element, so hearing somebody congratulate you or compliment you, just hearing a friend's voice or a loved one's voice say something to you is going to be so easy to use. And I found that for myself, it's easy to create very short and believable scenes that I can replay in my mind again and again. And it's not taxing, right? It doesn't take a lot of effort or mental energy. It's almost easy and enjoyable to do. And that's the level that you want to strive for. That's what you're aiming for in terms of how hard you should be working when you're doing a technique. You shouldn't be working hard at all. It should feel natural to you. Once you have found an affirmation that you like to use, or once you have created a scene that is easy for you to replay in your mind that feels good, the rest is downhill. It shouldn't feel like work. You just do the technique and you feel comfortable knowing that it's already done. That's the key. You never want to strong arm your techniques. And when you're manifesting, you always want to do it. Conscious manifesting comes from a place of ease, a place of knowing. That's when the things come to you. People will say you need to just let go and allow it to come to you. And as cliche as that sounds, that's the absolute truth, because when you have that confidence, that's essentially what you do. You might do a little technique in the beginning. You might put in a little effort somewhere in your 3D world, but it's not all coming from effort. And it's definitely not coming from the stress of the standpoint of, am I doing this right? Or what can I do to make this better? And constantly going back to the drawing board, worrying about if you made a mistake or not. Be confident that it's already done. You've already done what you needed to do, especially if you've enjoyed the process, if you enjoy saying that affirmation, and if you enjoy running that scene in your mind, right? It has to happen eventually. And the time frame is none of your concern. How it happens is none of your concern. When you worry about those things, that's when you set yourself back a little bit, right? Because what you see on the inside, what you say and affirm, and what you actually end up believing on a subconscious level will mirror itself in your reality. So you need to have that confidence that you are doing it correctly, no matter what technique you're doing, no matter what affirmation you use, no matter what scene you're doing it correctly. And that's the power that you have. Manifesting with confidence looks like you being confident in whatever technique that you choose to use, whatever scene you choose to visualize, whatever affirmation you choose to say to yourself. Because at the end of the day, again, you are the operant power. You decide what works, what holds power, and what you believe on the inside, what those dominant beliefs, what that mental state that you are embodying on the inside will eventually reflect itself. And, going back to the drawing board, worrying about which affirmations you're using, or worrying about every detail of, something that you're visualizing, all of that just points to your doubts. It points to your lack of faith, your lack of belief. So it doesn't really matter what you're imagining, right? If you're going to doubt it, it means that you don't believe at the end of the day. You don't think it can happen. There is a level of you where, you're not really embodying that mental state that you need to be in order for your dreams to manifest. I think the quote is, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you'll be able to move mountains. I might be wording that a little incorrectly, but that's the gist of it, right? If you just have a little bit of faith, it doesn't matter what techniques you use, and it doesn't matter what your process is, because you've decided what you want, and then you can more easily embody the state that you need to with confidence and with ease. The key is that you want to just relax after you do a technique, whatever it is, or after you decide what you want. Relax knowing that it will come to you eventually. And stressing out about time, stressing out about how is not your concern. The more you think about those things, and the more you think about the things that you need to change to make it better, to make it work faster, the more you're going to set yourself back. So while you do have to persist in a way in the beginning, sometimes when you're learning how to meditate, when you're learning how to run a scene in your mind, when you're learning how to do, SATs, the ladder technique, or maybe robotic affirming, sometimes in the beginning, persisting is just training the muscle. But persisting should never come from a state of desperation. And that's the difference. When you persist while you're doing a technique, the persisting should be in learning how to do the technique. It shouldn't be in the lack of faith that your technique isn't working or that you haven't done it enough. Because once you do the techniques, it doesn't matter what they are, they have to work. So persist to learn the technique in the beginning, but after that, you don't persist in desperation. You don't persist worrying that you haven't done enough or that you've done it wrong. That just emphasizes and enforces the lack that's within you. And that's what you want to separate from, which is why meditation and just being still is so powerful. Sometimes when you're not trying to manifest, things end up coming to you quicker because your mind is not focused on the problem. And that's a huge thing. When you're always trying to fix something, when you're trying to learn how to manifest quicker, the mind is, focused on an issue that you're trying to fix. And sometimes you just need to step back and relax because there is no issue for you to fix. The infinite intelligence within you is in control. It's going to, level everything out. Everything will unfold even better than you imagined, right? So when you're doing techniques, just take a step back sometimes. If you notice that you're coming at it from an angle of, perfectionism. Am I doing this, the optimal way? There is no optimal way. The more you try to optimize your techniques, the more stress you're putting on yourself. The more stress you're putting on yourself, the more you are emphasizing the lack that is within you. Because somebody that has what they want is not going to be feeling what you're feeling in that situation. So I hope that makes sense. So if you take one thing away from this, I want you to not focus on the problem, the perceived problem that you have. The more you focus on if you are doing something right, or the more you focus on fixing a problem, the bigger that problem is. So just step back with ease, knowing that what you have decided to get, what you want in life, will come to you. And the more ease you have around that, the less you can dwell on that perceived lack or that perceived problem, the more success you will have, the faster things will come to you. Manifestation is not, I need to try hard to manifest so that this thing comes to me faster, because oftentimes it works the exact opposite. The more you try, the longer it takes, or sometimes the more you push it away and it never comes, right? So you need to relax when you're doing your techniques, when you're affirming, when you're visualizing. Everything will come to you. And again, when you hear people say you need to persist through whatever it is you're doing or whatever you're trying to manifest, what persisting means is that you need to persist in the beginning when you're learning how to do the technique. But after that you've learned how to do it, be confident knowing that when you did it that first time, you did it right, and you placed your order, and what you want is coming to you. And the beauty about it is that when you learn to just let go and believe that you've done it right, that's when these crazy manifestations happen. And that's when the instant manifestations happen. That's when the manifestations in a day or in a week or in a few days happen. It's when you relax. I remember this one time when I was trying to get an Uber. And I may have told this story before, but I was trying to get an Uber at the airport. And one after another, they kept canceling for no reason at all. And I was starting to wonder, like what's going on. But then, I just kept saying, okay, the next one that's going to agree to take the ride is not only going to be a quicker ride, but it's going to be a luxury ride. And if you know how Uber works or Lyft, sometimes you can pay a little bit more to get like the luxury cars. But I didn't do that. I just chose the basic ride, and I just said, okay, the next one that I'm going to get is going to be a luxury car. And then I briefly just envisioned myself opening the door to a black car with brown leather seats. And I didn't really worry about like what kind of car it was or anything. I just saw in my head, I saw my hand grabbing the door, opening it, and I saw the black leather seats, and it was instant. But then I just dropped it. I let it go. And so I waited a couple minutes, and surely enough, the next ride that confirmed that it was coming to pick us up was a brand new black Lexus with brown leather seats. So that was like an instant little manifestation. And, people will say that's coincidence or whatever, but people will say that about any manifestation when it happens, because to them, it will look like a coincidence. To them, it will look like you have worked so hard to make it happen. That's how manifestation works. It's when you believe something and you're able to truly believe it, you can relax and let it go. It doesn't mean that you don't want it, but it means that you are manifesting from a state of ease. There is a light touch to your manifestation efforts. You're placing your order with the universe, and you're saying, wouldn't it be nice to get this? Or I'm going to get this. and that's it, and you drop it. And if you do a technique, you definitely don't have to, but if you do use a technique, it can be very short, just like that time when I was in the airport. I visualized it for literally 5 seconds, not even. And I wasn't trying. I didn't say, okay, I'm going to sit here and do a visualization technique. I just said in my head, the next car that's going to confirm is going to be a luxury car with nice leather seats. And as I was saying that, I just saw it in my head pretty vividly, but it was natural. I didn't try to do it. And then I dropped it. I didn't really think about it. And that's usually how all the techniques work. That's how conscious manifesting works, is that it works with a light touch. The more you try and the more you worry about it, the more resistance you are going to build up. So I hope this helps.